Hello, I'm Pooja Chaturvedi and you're listening to the Lounge Podcast. Imagine being the head honcho of one of the world's biggest companies. Would you comment on the weather or the rottenness of the system and that you're hanging out with so-and-so? Next thing you know, it has probably made to the front page of the newspapers. So should bosses tweet or should their opinions remain sealed within their cabins? Steve Tapin, a management expert and author who coaches chief executives of many large companies, found out that only 5% of his clients use social media. In part 2 of his series CEO Guru, which features on BBC, Steve will be talking to top business leaders about their inhibitions regarding social media and the challenges that they face, their insecurities, and how they hope to lead their companies in the 21st century. So let's hear it from Steve. Hi Steve, welcome to the Lounge Podcast.
Thank you. Very, very pleased to be here.
Alright, so we are into the second series of CEO Guru. Tell us more about it. How different is this series from the first one?
I think the series has sort of developed quite a lot from series 1 to series 2. And what we've done is we've really made the topic, each episode, to be very much driven by what are the key items on the CEO agenda. So to give you an example, the first one we did was about whether CEOs should tweet. Mm-hmm. And this is a really topical question that a lot of CEOs are trying to work out. What do they think of social media? Should they tweet? And then this week we're also doing one around time, which is another thing that CEOs are grappling with. We're also getting some fantastic CEOs. So this time we've got Jeff Immelt from GE is on the show. Paul Pullman from Unilever is going to be in this series.
So all these CEOs, they tweet?
Not all of them. I think there's a very low percentage of them that tweet. I think it's less than 5%. It's interesting is that more and more of them are starting to think about it, but they're realizing they don't really understand this world. I think there's a whole spectrum, Pooja. If you take somebody like Angela Eckhart from Burberry, she really is committed to social media. She invests about £500,000 in it, and she has a whole team, and she really sets out a brand and a voice of the industry, and she really does interact with people on it. Through to the other extreme, which would be somebody like Rupert Soames, the CEO of Aggreko, the FTSE 100 mobile plant company, whose mindset is, well, it's interesting, but there's a lot of other things I could be doing with my time.
So, Steve, tell me, is time is the only reason why these CEOs don't want to come on the social networking sites, or are there any other factors also?
Yeah, well, I think that they're wary because it's something that they can't necessarily control. So in their own corporate communications, they can control the messages that go out, but they can't control the reactions to what goes on in the social media space. The second piece is a fear of the unknown. They just don't really understand it. And then I think they're realizing that if they put personal stuff on, that doesn't just affect their reputation, it could also reflect on the companies. Mm-hmm. So I think the combination of not really understanding it, a little bit of unease, means that a lot of them would therefore sit and wait for a while.
And we also have various notions when it comes to our bosses. For example,
yes.
That they can never be vulnerable. Do you think it puts extra pressure on the leaders to be in line with a particular kind of conduct, and does your show talk about it?
I think that puts the boss in the centre of the limelight, and I think therefore the bosses need to think about this in a new way. So I think there's a lot of positive things. One thing is that they can be the voice of their industry. So, they can drive the agenda on the big topics in what's going on. Also, you can be seen as like a customer champion, responding to it. The CEO takes things seriously. And I think the other piece of it is I think people like it. If your CEO confidently is on social media and they're coming up with insightful things, I think people really love that. But the downside is they are more transparent. And I think they have to draw a line and decide, why am I going on social media? What is the point of it? And what is my brand that I'm trying to project? What are my expert areas that I'm going to talk about?
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about social media, having a boss as your friend, isn't it intimidating for the employees?
The great bosses are able to sort of magnify themselves. So they smartly use, especially, blogs and social media and internal communications to basically touch as many people as they can. And when they do that, the smart ones will also make themselves open to communication. Mm-hmm. I mean, the great CEOs, I think, they bring a lot of followers in the company with them into the social media world.
The office structure is changing with time, and, it has become more dynamic. How should a leader adapt to such changes?
Yeah, so I think that what we need is companies to not be too, what I call, corporately professionally managed. They need to be more corporately entrepreneurial. And I think that I think a lot of the big companies are operating the old model of professional management, gradually are slowing down, getting too rigid, and ultimately, and then there's these other companies I think will arise in the next 5 years that are going to be much more international, much more entrepreneurial, and much more like an institution that people care about. So I think that we need a sort of a new way of running a company going forward.
And very quickly, what should we expect from the second series of CEO Guru?
So I think what you should expect is more and more interesting global CEOs from around the world, America, Europe and India. And I think you're going to see some very interesting questions coming up, which is, how do you really run a global company? How do you really get entrepreneurship working in a big corporation? And how do you stay the course for these jobs because they're bloody hard? So I think you should expect some really interesting themes, and I think also some CEOs opening their heart.
Now, we're looking forward to it. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for talking to us.
Okay, my pleasure. Thanks very much. Very much enjoyed it.
CEO Guru will broadcast every Friday on BBC World News. For more information, you can go to bbc.com/CEO Guru. And with this, it's time to bid goodbye until we meet next week. Write to me with your feedback and suggestions at pooja.c@livemin.com. Be good and have a great weekend.